Disagreements are an unavoidable part of life. Whether they occur in personal relationships, at work, or among friends, arguments are something we all face. However, the real issue arises when these disagreements begin to turn into recurring conflicts, creating negative cycles that feel impossible to break. Over time, these cycles can drain our energy, hurt our relationships, and leave us feeling stuck in an unending loop of frustration. It's not the disagreements themselves that cause the damage, but rather how we respond to them. The failure to understand the underlying causes of these repeated disagreements and the inability to break the cycle can lead to long-term emotional consequences. Dale Carnegie, a pioneer in personal development and communication, provides invaluable advice for navigating the complexities of human interaction. His teachings focus on creating understanding, fostering empathy, and approaching conflict resolution with grace and clarity. In this work, we will explore how Carnegie's principles can be applied to break negative cycles, handle repeated disagreements, and build more positive, productive relationships. By understanding the root causes of recurring conflicts and learning how to address them thoughtfully, we can create a foundation for healthier, more effective communication in all areas of our lives. Chapter 1. Understanding the root of repeated disagreements. Disagreements that seem to occur over and over again often have deeper roots than we realize. At the surface level, these repeated conflicts may appear to be about specific issues, whether it's a difference in opinion, unmet expectations, or a disagreement about how something should be done. But when these issues arise again and again, it's often because they are symptoms of larger unresolved problems that have not been addressed properly. Most of the time, the underlying causes of these repeated disagreements are misunderstandings, emotional triggers, or unmet needs that have not been communicated. When we enter into a conflict, our reactions are often influenced by past experiences, fears, and insecurities. We may not even realize that we are reacting to these deeper feelings rather than to the issue at hand. For example, a person might overreact in a discussion about household chores not because of the chore itself, but because they feel undervalued or disrespected in the relationship. Similarly, a colleague might become defensive during a meeting, not because of the specific project feedback, but because they have deep-seated fears about their competence or fear of being criticized. These emotions, when left unaddressed, form a cycle in which each new disagreement builds on the unresolved emotional tensions from previous arguments. The key to breaking these negative cycles is to understand what is truly at the heart of the disagreement. Once we begin to recognize the emotional triggers and unspoken needs that fuel these conflicts, we are better equipped to resolve them. Instead of focusing solely on the surface-level issue, it is important to take a step back, examine our own feelings, and try to understand where the other person is coming from. By addressing the root causes, we can move beyond the repeating pattern of conflict and begin to have more productive, honest, and open conversations. Chapter 2. Active listening. The key to breaking negative cycles. One of the most effective tools for breaking negative cycles of repeated disagreements is active listening. Although listening may seem like a simple and straightforward skill, it is often something that many people struggle with, particularly in moments of tension or conflict. Active listening goes far beyond merely hearing the words the other person is saying. It involves fully engaging with their message, both emotionally and intellectually. By listening with the intent to understand, rather than merely to respond or defend, we create an environment where open and effective communication can take place. Dale Carnegie emphasized the critical importance of truly listening to others, not just hearing their words passively. Active listening requires us to direct our attention toward the speaker, making an intentional effort to comprehend not just their words but the emotions and thoughts behind them. This kind of listening helps prevent misunderstandings, reduces the tendency to become defensive, and fosters empathy between individuals. When someone feels genuinely heard, they are much more likely to listen to your perspective in return, makes it easier to move beyond the conflict and work collaboratively toward a resolution. In contrast, when listening is superficial or selective, it can deepen divides and keep the conversation stuck in a loop of repeated disagreements. In practice, active listening encompasses several essential components: giving the speaker your undivided attention, reflecting back what they have said to ensure understanding, acknowledging and validating their feelings, and asking clarifying questions when necessary. This process helps demonstrate that you are not only hearing their words but also striving to comprehend their viewpoint fully. It requires resisting the impulse to interrupt or immediately formulate a response. Instead, active listening demands that you pause, process what has been said, and only then respond thoughtfully. This deliberate approach shifts the dynamic of the conversation from a potential conflict to a constructive and collaborative dialogue. When both parties feel respected and understood, they are more likely to work together to find a solution. By incorporating active listening into our daily interactions, we begin to dismantle the barriers that often perpetuate negative cycles of disagreement. Rather than reacting emotionally or defensively, we respond with intention, allowing for more meaningful and effective communication. Over time, this creates a deeper connection with others, where conflicts are resolved more peacefully and with greater mutual understanding. Active listening, therefore, not only helps break the cycle of repeated conflicts, but also cultivates an environment of trust, empathy, and cooperation, leading to stronger, more positive relationships. Chapter 3. Avoiding the blame game. Fostering a spirit of cooperation. In many conflicts, one of the most significant barriers to resolution is the tendency to blame the other person. When we feel hurt, frustrated, or wronged, it's easy to point the finger and accuse the other person of being at fault. This reaction is natural, but it rarely leads to a positive outcome. In fact, blaming often intensifies the conflict, driving both parties into defensive positions and deepening the cycle of negativity. Instead of resolving the issue, blame creates more distance and mistrust between individuals. Dale Carnegie's teachings emphasize the importance of avoiding criticism, condemnation, or complaining. Rather than focusing on what the other person did wrong, Carnegie encourages us to focus on the problem itself and collaborate on finding a solution. When we shift our perspective from who is to blame to how can we work together to resolve this, we foster a cooperative approach rather than a confrontational one. This shift not only helps diffuse the immediate conflict but also creates a more constructive environment for future discussions. By removing blame from the equation, we open up space for open, non-judgmental communication where both parties feel that their perspectives are heard and respected. Additionally, Carnegie teaches the power of using positive language even when discussing difficult or uncomfortable topics. Instead of accusing the other person or pointing out their faults, we can express our concerns in ways that invite collaboration and problem solving. For example, instead of saying "you never listen to me," we could reframe our statement to something like "I sometimes feel unheard and it's really important to me that we improve our communication." This subtle change in language not only reduces the chance of the other person becoming defensive but also sets the stage for a more positive and productive conversation. It encourages both parties to focus on resolving the issue together rather than falling into the trap of blame. By avoiding the blame game and adopting a mindset of cooperation, we can break free from the cycle of negativity that often characterizes repeated conflicts. When both individuals focus on finding a resolution rather than assigning fault, the likelihood of resolving the disagreement effectively increases. More importantly, this approach reduces the chances of repeating the same conflict in the future, fostering a healthier, more collaborative relationship. In the end, focusing on solutions rather than blame not only leads to better conflict resolution but also strengthens the foundation of trust and understanding between individuals. Chapter 4. Empathy. Putting yourself in the other person's shoes. Empathy is a fundamental and transformative element in resolving conflicts and breaking negative cycles. It involves stepping outside of our own perspective to genuinely understand and share the feelings of another person. By putting ourselves in the other person's shoes and seeing the world through their eyes, we develop a deeper sense of connection and emotional understanding. Dale Carnegie emphasized that empathy is essential not just for resolving disagreements but for creating meaningful relationships. When we empathize with others, we not only recognize their emotions but also create space for the conflict to be diffused, replacing tension with understanding. In the midst of a disagreement, it can be challenging to consider the other person's point of view, especially when emotions are running high. We may become preoccupied with our own frustrations, which can cloud our ability to listen effectively. However, by making a deliberate effort to empathize, we move from a place of defensiveness to a space where we focus on the emotional needs and experiences of the other person. Instead of reacting impulsively or escalating the argument, we can respond with greater compassion. Carnegie's approach teaches us that empathy is a vital tool in building rapport and trust, both of which help to navigate conflicts and reach mutually agreeable solutions. One of the key benefits of empathy in conflict resolution is that it helps uncover the root causes of the disagreement. Many conflicts arise because one or both parties feel misunderstood, overlooked, or invalidated. By practicing empathy and listening attentively, we are able to tap into the emotional undercurrents of the situation, gaining insight into what the other person truly needs. This deeper understanding allows us to address the underlying concerns effectively, making it possible to resolve the issue in a way that satisfies both parties. Empathy is not simply about agreeing with the other person's perspective, but about recognizing that their feelings, concerns, and needs are real and valid. It requires patience and active listening, taking the time to fully hear the other person's point of view without jumping to conclusions or forming judgments. By acknowledging the other person's emotions and experiences, we break down the barriers that often lead to defensiveness, creating an environment where dialogue can flourish. When we practice empathy consistently, we pave the way for more harmonious interactions and cooperative relationships. It reduces the likelihood of escalating conflict and fosters a spirit of mutual respect and understanding. In the long term, empathy helps to create an atmosphere where people feel heard and valued, making it easier to navigate future disagreements with grace, understanding, and a commitment to resolving issues in a constructive manner. Chapter 5. Offering Praise and Appreciation. The Power of Positive Reinforcement. One of the most effective strategies for breaking a negative cycle of conflict is offering praise and genuine appreciation. Dale Carnegie underscored the immense power of appreciation as a motivating force. When we sincerely recognize the efforts and positive actions of others, we not only boost their morale but also create an environment of goodwill. This approach is especially crucial in the context of resolving repeated disagreements, as it helps shift the focus away from what's wrong and redirects it toward what's right. Rather than solely dwelling on the mistakes or shortcomings of others, we should intentionally seek out and acknowledge the positive aspects of their behavior. By highlighting what they are doing well, we reinforce and encourage more of that positive behavior. For instance, in a workplace setting, a manager who regularly praises the team's achievements and efforts, rather than fixating on errors, fosters an atmosphere of mutual respect and collaboration. This not only improves individual motivation, but also strengthens the overall team dynamic. Offering praise and appreciation also plays a critical role in diffusing tension and promoting goodwill. When individuals feel valued and recognized for their contributions, they are more likely to respond with openness and a willingness to work together to resolve conflicts. Carnegie's principle of sincere appreciation serves as a powerful antidote to negative cycles, helping to replace hostility with a more supportive and productive interaction. By intentionally focusing on the positive and providing authentic praise, we contribute to the creation of a cooperative atmosphere. This helps to mitigate the likelihood of recurring disagreements, as individuals are more likely to feel understood and appreciated. This approach not only aids in resolving conflicts, but also strengthens relationships, fostering a deeper connection and making it easier to navigate future disagreements with a spirit of grace and mutual respect. Through the power of recognition and positive reinforcement, we break free from negativity and build a foundation for more harmonious and constructive relationships. Chapter 6. The Art of Apologizing. The Path to Rebuilding Trust and Ending Negative Cycles. An apology, when delivered with sincerity, is one of the most powerful tools we have at our disposal for breaking negative cycles of conflict. Often ongoing disputes arise because neither party is willing to accept responsibility for their part in the disagreement, resulting in a cycle of blame and defensiveness that becomes difficult to break. However, by taking the courageous step of acknowledging our own role in the conflict and offering a heartfelt apology, we can demonstrate humility, rebuild trust, and create an opening for reconciliation. Dale Carnegie, in his teachings, emphasized that a true apology is not about admitting guilt or weakness, but about recognizing the effect our actions have had on another person. It's about understanding that, regardless of the circumstances, we contribute to the dynamics of the relationship, and that our behavior, whether intentional or not, influences those around us. By offering a genuine apology, we are acknowledging that our actions or words have had an impact, and we are taking responsibility for that. This kind of apology signals a willingness to make amends and to strive for positive change in our interactions moving forward. Beyond simply mending the immediate situation, an apology plays a significant role in diffusing tension and breaking the cycle of defensiveness that often fuels conflict. When both individuals are willing to apologize, the dynamic of the disagreement shifts. The conflict loses its power, and both parties become more open to dialogue, understanding, and cooperation. Carnegie taught that an apology, when timed appropriately, has the potential to transform a tense and uncomfortable situation into an opportunity for personal growth, healing, and deeper mutual understanding. An effective apology requires more than just words. It demands sincerity, humility, and a genuine desire to restore the relationship. It's not enough to say sorry, as a formality, or to end the argument quickly. A meaningful apology is rooted in the acknowledgement of our responsibility, and it includes a commitment to doing better in the future. It's about showing the other person that we value the relationship enough to make real changes in how we behave. Mastering the art of apologizing is crucial in breaking the negative cycles of repeated disagreements. By approaching conflicts with a genuine willingness to acknowledge our part in the situation and offering heartfelt apologies, we create space for healthier, more respectful interactions. This not only resolves the current disagreement but also strengthens the overall relationship, fostering greater understanding, trust, and cooperation moving forward. Through this process, we transform cycles of negativity into opportunities for growth, connection, and mutual respect, breaking free from the cycle of conflict. Breaking negative cycles of repeated disagreements can indeed be a daunting task, yet it is entirely achievable when we consciously apply Dale Carnegie's principles such as active listening, empathy, praise, and sincere apology. These approaches are instrumental in transforming how we engage in and resolve conflicts. Rather than remaining stuck in a repetitive pattern of defensiveness and argument, these strategies enable us to shift from a space of contention to one of understanding, cooperation, and mutual respect. At the heart of this transformation lies our ability to truly recognize the root causes of our disagreements, which often stem from misunderstandings, miscommunications, or unmet needs. By listening actively without interrupting, judging, or immediately jumping to conclusions, we can uncover the underlying concerns that fuel the conflict. This act of truly hearing the other person without being defensive or seeking to win the conversation is crucial in breaking the negative cycle of argumentation. Equally important is our ability to avoid blame and criticism. Focusing on the problem rather than the person allows us to remain objective and constructive in our approach. Additionally, empathy plays a central role in diffusing conflict. By making a sincere effort to understand the other person's point of view and feelings, we create a space for compassion which naturally leads to a more collaborative atmosphere. We can further cultivate this environment by offering genuine praise and appreciation, acknowledging the positive aspects of the other person's actions and feelings. This creates an emotional bridge that helps reduce the tension and animosity that can often escalate conflicts. Moreover, when we make mistakes or contribute to the disagreement, offering a sincere apology without defensiveness can go a long way in healing rifts. Acknowledging our role in the conflict and expressing regret in a genuine, non-judgmental way can pave the way for reconciliation. The key to breaking these negative cycles of disagreement lies not only in adopting these principles but also in cultivating personal qualities such as humility, patience, and a true willingness to understand the perspective of others. This approach calls for self-reflection and emotional maturity, as well as the recognition that conflicts are often not about winning but about finding common ground. The more we practice these principles in our interactions, the more we can shift from a state of negativity and conflict to one of understanding and collaboration. While this process of transforming how we engage in conflicts takes time and sustained effort, the outcomes are incredibly rewarding. By applying these strategies consistently, we can break free from cycles of negativity, fostering not only more effective communication but also stronger, more meaningful relationships. This approach allows us to create a more harmonious environment, whether at home, in the workplace, or in our communities, where individuals can thrive and work together productively.